Hi, this is Linda
And this is Joe.
with Generation to Generation.
And like always, today we have our friends again with us.
Hello,
And,
people.
and today's topic is being the best parent you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So what do you think? What do you think being the best parent you can be looks? Well, what do you think it looks like? Real small.
Small thing of what it looks like to me.
Before we get to the expert.
Where they at? Where? Yeah. Who are those people?
Somewhere.
Wow, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
What do you think of best? What do you think it looks like?
I would say a child that is that feel love, know that they're loved, know their value, give back to society, you know, instead of just taking, giving back. What do you think?
Well, I think that you're not there to be your children's friend. Mm-hmm. Not first anyway. Maybe it's third or fourth, maybe second. I don't know.
How about when they're adults? Not when they're
when they're adults. When they're adults, they also got to remember that you're the parent,
yeah.
Right? Because sometimes grown children can cuss, and just because they're grown now, they know they're not gonna get spanked or anything like that. So sometimes, grown children can act like, the parents are their children.
Oh goodness.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be their friend. So, and you're there to guide and train them up the way they're supposed to go and all that stuff and teach them things, right? Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, you're not their friend.
Yeah, I would say that. Mm-hmm. So how do you think we did?
What?
I think we did overall, we did okay. And they came out good. But there's a lot of things I wish we would have learned, like how we're talking about it now. And that's why we're doing this, so people won't make the same mistakes that we have.
Yeah, and then you have a lot of, because I know growing up, you see things modeled to you, and you actually, without even thinking about it, do those things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Whether right or wrong, right?
Right.
So, and I think one thing that I learned too is, for me, myself, I think talking to people, because I was kind of a shy person, and then you gotta be one of those people that don't mind letting people in on your business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not everything, but
yeah,
I don't mind opening up to some things.
But the right people.
Well, I guess you can say the right people. Even though,
not just
everybody has a little nugget of wisdom. I had a friend told me one time is that you listen to everybody, and as they're saying stuff to you, you actually kind of grab it and put that away. Like when they're talking to you, giving advice, you're like, oh, you know what? Because it could be a wrong type of person that you don't necessarily hang around with, but they can still give you some gems. Mm-hmm. So he was telling me, you grab this. Okay, no, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't sound right. Oh, he said something good there. Mm-hmm. So
kind of like going to a smorgasbord.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which probably won't come back, but.
So I think you should listen to everybody. It doesn't matter, but because some people have some wisdoms. Because to me, like I always say, that a thief doesn't steal all the time, and a liar doesn't lie all the time. Mm-hmm. Now it doesn't make. You're still kind of leery, but they still don't lie and steal all the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think.
Yeah, okay. It's one of the most important jobs we'll ever have in life. And it's one of the most rewarding jobs. And I use that word job lightly, but it is kind of a nonstop. You'll always be a parent, even after they become adults. but at the same time, it can be one of the most challenging,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
because unless you've taken parenting classes, there's a lot you don't know. You just do what you think comes natural, and that might be very devastating. You know, there's some ways to talk to children, and there's ways that aren't healthy. You know, there's ways of discipline, and then there's ways where the discipline crosses the line. So without going to school or going into a classroom setting, most parents have a tendency to parent the way they were parented, unless they were parented by someone that wasn't a healthy parent. And I'll say it that way, because you don't know until you leave. Oh, wow, mom did some crazy stuff. You know, dad did some really crazy stuff. I don't think I would do that with my children.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless they've gotten scarred to the point where they react to things
Mhm.
and react in a way quite often that the parent reacted to them.
Right.
Mhm.
And caused trauma.
Mhm.
You know, because in talking to people and learning this material, we have found that a lot of us have been traumatized. We didn't know it was being traumatized,
Mhm.
but our parents, there's a lot that our parents didn't know. The material that's out now, it's what, 50 maybe plus years old.
Yeah.
But back in the day, they used the Bible, or they used what their parents did,
Mhm.
you know. And back in the day, you know, people would,
And their parents weren't far
Yeah.
from slavery,
yeah, yeah,
you know, and so some of the conditions and mental concepts that came to their parents uh, was probably pretty dysfunctional
hmm
and
painful.
painful, and then
Yeah.
they passed it on to our parents, and
Mhm.
you know, and our parents passed it on to our kids, and it
Mhm.
just now it's a time, like Babe says, about 50 years ago, started to get some kind of enlightenment
Mhm.
about this
Mhm.
and to see it in a different light.
Mhm.
But there's been a lot of damage done, a lot of damage done. And a lot of that damage is hidden damage. You don't know it until you react in a way that exposes it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we can cause emotional scars, and a lot of people, especially in maybe your generation and even younger, they're now starting to go to therapy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what the therapists are finding out is that what they're dealing with now, what that person, that young adult is dealing with, went back to their childhood, because they were traumatized. They were scarred in a way that, you know, I spoke to someone today, and she's going to therapy, and it all had to do with her mom and not having a dad. You know, all those things. And sometimes women can be overbearing when it comes to raising children, because they don't have the help, they don't have the assistance. And when you don't have help, you can get so overwhelmed that when it's time to correct a child or discipline a child, you can go over the line, because you're bogged down with everything. It's all on you. And we were not created to raise children on our own. It's not saying that single mothers can't do a good job. Believe me, that's not the case, because I know of some single mothers that did do the very best they could, and their kids came out okay. Um, but a lot of people have been damaged, and the parents didn't know they were damaging the child. They didn't know that the words that they chose and the methods that they chose hurt deeply. I can remember my mom calling me certain names and using certain words that made my self-image be very, very small. You know, I was teased. I was thin. I was thin as a rail. When we got married, I was 99 pounds. And I was teased a lot.
I like your 99
I'm
pounds.
glad you do. But I was teased a lot, not only at school, but I was teased at home. I was teased with extended family members. And people don't understand that words cut. They're like a knife or a saw. And to live with that and be okay with yourself takes some time, and it takes healing. And so as parents, we want at this stage in the game, we want to learn as much as we can. And you know, you might say, well, I don't agree with that. Some people say, well, this is psychobabble.
Mm.
You don't have to eat all of it. You know, there's vegetables that I don't eat all the vegetables, but I'll take out the ones that I like, you know, because I know the vegetables are good for me. So what this material does is it helps us have a different perspective. And we're, you know, we're always talking about the tint of the glasses. How do you see the world? So anyway, I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's.
You know, this is my area.
I
So
know.
no, go ahead.
Glad you-
No, go.
So probably ought to start with a definition. That might be the first place to start. Definition. What's the purpose of parenting? You know, and so we would work. Let's work with to provide and to protect and to provide
And to teach.
and to teach our children to thrive, survive, and thrive
Mhm.
in the
World in which they
world
live.
in which they're going to live.
Mhm.
That's basically the purpose of parenting. Protect and teach our children to survive and thrive in the world in which they're going to live.
And by the time they become adults, the world has changed.
Yeah.
You know, given 20 years, it's going to be different from what it is now.
Mhm.
And so as parents, we want to give our children as much as we can. And I don't mean toys and games and all of that, but prepare them for life, because that is our job as a parent, you know. And if we don't do it adequately, our children are going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. They're going to miss out on education. What do? We sometimes we sacrifice to give our children the best education. We will actually move to another state, to another county, to another city, or whatever that looks like, to give our children the best, because we want them to have the best. We want them not only to survive, but to thrive. And that means giving them every opportunity to be the best adult they're going to be. Because I saw, I remember a statement that said, you want to raise your child so that whoever lives next to them are glad that you were their parents. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because all of us know crazy neighbors, you know, neighbors that were like, can I just pick up my house and move it, you know, somewhere else because I got a crazy neighbor. So what we want to do is make sure that they contribute to society. We want them to be a good citizen. We want them to do the right thing. We don't want them in trouble. We don't want to ever have to visit them in jail behind bars. We don't want that. We don't want to have to visit the morgue. So there are some things that we can do as parents to be that person, to be that go-to as a mom and a dad, allowing our children to come to us whenever, you know, they should revere us as adults and our parents. But at the same time, we don't want them to be afraid to come to us if there's something they don't understand or something that is puzzling to them. That your mom and your dad should be your first go-to.
And I think about too, I think it's important too that, especially when your children start to get a little older, see what kind of decision, allow them to make decisions to see what kind of choices they will make, right? That's very, very important, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
You know? Say, oh, why did you decide to do, this way, right? Because they can make a totally wrong decision, and
Right.
you want them to make that decision while they're at home, so you can teach them the right decision, right?
Right.
So giving them that chance to do that.
Yeah. There's one curriculum that we teach, and it says by the age of 3, allow children to make choices. Do you want apple juice or do you want orange juice?
Mhm.
You know, do you want pancakes? Do you want waffles? You know, don't throw cold cereal in the equation, because they'll just eat Cocoa Puffs until they're puffing cocoa. But allowing them to make those choices, because whatever choice they make, they have to live with it. You know, they could, in the middle of the road, oh, I didn't mean to say orange juice, I want apple juice. No. You said you wanted orange juice. So this is what you have. Next time they'll think, because cognitively that brain has to have these exercises in its head so that kids learn how to make good choices, good decisions. And that happens so early. And sometimes parents don't give children the choices that they need to make in order to get that part of the brain working.
And I think another important thing too is allow your children to see, like when they make a choice or when they say something, allow them to see that their choice has affected you.
Right.
You know, I'm really upset right now because you said this and you made that choice and you didn't do that. You know, we're not talking about screaming and yelling. We already know how that stuff doesn't work. But because what's going to happen is that's what they're going to encounter. And believe you me, the other people out in the world, they're not going to have any problem showing their emotions.
Not at all.
Right.
So you have to be able to have them, see that side and then coach them through that.
Right. And in a democratic society, everybody's not going to agree with you, and their ideals are not your ideals. What they feel is right could be totally wrong in your book. But can I learn to respect you as a human being without dogging you and coming after you and telling you what a bad person you are? Because this is where we are today. And all of us, at the end of the day, need to learn how to work together and how to get along, you know?
So part of that has a lot to do with the survive, has a lot to do with your resilience, your self-worth, your kind of your self-esteem. Also, to thrive means you actually have to learn how to keep doing something or persevere and learn from failures and not take failures personally.
Right.
You know, learn from it to thrive. Anyone that's going to be successful is going to experience failure. So by default, if you never can handle failure, you'll never be successful.
Right. You'll never know or understand what to do differently the next time.
Right. So that's part of our jobs as parents, to help kids work through the failure process and not let it become a self-worth thing. You know, how do I take a failure that I've had and not make it a self-worth issue?
Because I'm still a valuable person, even if I make a mistake.
And the other thing is, like you said, your choices are by default. We don't come here knowing how to make good choices. By default, we don't make good choices. We make emotional choices by default. And emotional choices are never the best choice. you know.
I want that candy bar.
Yeah.
And I want that ice cream. What did you tell me this morning that you did as a child?
Oh yeah, I had they may not know what this is, but it's a Hollywood candy bar and a good time candy bar. and sugar babies. That was my daily ritual, 5 days a week, because mama would give me a quarter for lunch. I'd stop at the store every day from Monday to Friday and get a Hollywood and a Mr. Good, a Good Time bar, and a package of sugar babies. I'd eat the Hollywood bar in the morning, the sugar babies after that, and on my way home, the Good Time bar, 5 days a week. Not a good choice, but I was sure having fun doing it.
You were young, yeah.
That's why he has such a sweet tooth now.
Running all that sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. Got sugar.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed, kids. I mean, I remember being young, soda, potato chips, and Chico sticks. Walking up, you said it. Well, it wasn't as cheap as a quarter. We were in the 50 cents and 75-cent range.
Well, that's because you're younger than we are, and so
Everything kept
yeah,
going up.
Right?
you could do a lot of damage with the quarter back in the
Back
day.
in our day, you could do damage with a quarter. A candy bar was 5 cents.
Yeah. And I do remember the telephone call was a dime before it went to a quarter.
Oh yeah.
I had a little bit of that experience.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no good choices when you're young.
No.
Yeah.
But we were outside playing though, so we burnt off all that sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But you know, the fact that we had the ability to burn it off, but the choice wasn't a good choice.
A habit forming habit.
And
stay with you.
Yeah. And so later on, that those kinds of choices can bring consequences.
Like
And what a
health issues.
what a child has to learn in the very early stage of parenting, and what a parent has to help a child learn, is that there are consequences to choices.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a life lesson that goes for the rest of your life. When you make choices, there are consequences. So the combination of poor choices and allowing our emotions to rule our choices, and then the upbringing that we come out of has a lot to do with the type of parent we become. You know, and the beginning of this is, again, definition. Okay, what is parenting? Okay, it's more than just having a baby. They give you the baby, you come home, and now you a parent. I'm a daddy and you a mama. Yeah, but what is parenting? You know, and so it begins with making sure you have a definition of what parenting is. Okay, because without a definition, you can't work for a goal. You can't achieve the goal, because parenting is about goals, achieving goals. Achieving goals with your child is probably one of the most important goals you want to achieve. But without a definition, you can't create a goal.
And I used to like to say it like this: you are your child's first teacher. If there's anything that they are going to learn, not just for academics, but for life, it starts with you as the parent. So unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to even consider parenting class. I don't need anybody to tell me what, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do with my kids, that kind of mentality. But what we're learning is that people are starting now to open up to learning and opening up to, okay, I was raised this way, but I would like to do it differently. How can I do that? And people are coming to the classes, and they're walking away with a new skill set. They're walking away with a new mindset, because they're learning something that maybe they didn't get, and maybe they can look back over their shoulder and say, wow, I wish my mom or I wish my dad knew this when I was being raised.
But you said something earlier, Pastor Kathy, is that like God never intended us to do things alone. So even though you can become a parent without necessarily going to get that book, you're supposed to have other people around to help you, right? That's the book. That's the school.
Right.
But
and the community comes alongside you.
Yeah.
Help you know, especially for single moms. You know, it's hard to be a parent in the first place, but to be a single parent or even a single dad, that's hard work.
Yeah.
And it's difficult.
Because whatever you are, if you're male or female, you can't actually teach the other person the other side of the agenda. If you're dad, you can't teach your girl how to be a girl. It takes a mom to actually teach her how to be a girl. And if you have a son, moms with sons can't teach them how to be men. It takes a man to teach a boy how to become a man. And it's really difficult. It's they really are doing the best they can. They're doing everything they can do. There's just something that a man brings to the element of parenting that a boy especially needs. And there's something that a woman brings to the element of parenting that a girl especially needs.
Right.
And it's just the problem today is that people have babies and they don't know how to have relationships, so they don't stay together. And then other people come into those mothers and fathers' lives, and that's not that child's parent, and brings all kinds of other complications to the mix. And it just, we're not ready or equipped to actually deal with that. The blended family brings up a whole lot of different elements that, you know, you may not be ready to deal with. You know, so again, the beginning of, if you're going to be how to be the best parent you can be, really starts with the definition of what parenting is. And then from there, we actually have to have a conversation about perspective. How do you see things? How do I see things? How can we work through that process so we can be united for our child? Because they'll learn how to manipulate very quick.
One of the best methods a parent can use when a child comes and asks a question and that other parent said, well, what did your mom say? Or what did your dad say? And you have to be on the same page.
Got to be on the same page.
And you know, so you take that child in the room. So did you tell so-and-so that they could do such and such? No. Did you just lie about your mother?
Yeah, because that's what that
You
comes
don't
natural.
get a cookie. You don't get a cookie.
It comes natural. Manipulation is a
Oh, yeah.
natural process
yeah.
to humans.
Oh yeah.
And if we discover we can get away with it,
Even young, like a child with chocolate all over their lips. Did you go in the cookie jar? Nope. They don't have a mirror in front of them, so they can't see what you see. They don't know that there's chocolate on their mouth, in their teeth, on their tongue, whatever. And they're wondering, how do you know? Yeah.
And the trick behind this is to not get upset at them while they go through that stage. That's the trick behind it, not to get upset at them while they're going through that, because it's a process that they're going through. They're just trying to, they don't know they can't deceive you, but they actually have to learn it. They have to learn they can't fool you.
Yeah.
They don't know they can't manipulate you. They actually have to learn they can't do that.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So because when we get angry at them or mad, because what a kid has to learn also is that you mean what you say.
Right.
They actually have to learn that you mean what you say. And for them to learn that, they need to see that their choice to not do what you say brings them a consequence.
Right.
And they got to be able to put together the consequence that they're experiencing actually came from their choice.
Right.
not your anger.
Yeah, it's connected to their decision
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
opposite of what you asked
Yeah.
them to do.
And when we get angry and mad and
They miss the
they
message.
miss the message.
Mhm.
They miss it. They think they're experiencing this because you're mad at them. And that's what they got to figure out. It ain't about you being mad. You actually aren't mad at it. They're just having to learn that their choice brought this to them, not
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
Their choice brought it to them.
Mhm.
Because that's the way the world works.
Mhm.
When you make bad choices, there's consequences to it.
Right.
And what you're doing is preparing them
For
for the
life.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there's some bad children that love this message because that means no spankings.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
Talk. No, I'm being a little facetious here because
well.
you know how some kids, man, like Dennis the Menace,
Mhm.
woo, just mischievous and and
Whack on the backside.
yeah. So it's just, but it is a good thing though, because when it comes to discipline, there's more than one ways to discipline. You don't always need to spank somebody or hit somebody, right?
No.
There's different methods, like you're saying, for people to learn.
Yeah.
And you have to know your child, they say.
Yeah.
You know,
Discipline is simply, I'm sorry, so sorry. Go.
No, I was gonna say that one child, and Linda knows this, one child you can just talk firmly or sternly to.
Mhm.
And the other child, you might have to give them a spanking or something, or timeout or whatever you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you gotta learn your child too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What we have to learn is that what does it take for them to figure it out?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's always about them. What does it take for this child? Because everyone's unique.
Mhm.
Each child is unique.
Mhm.
So what does it take for this child to figure out that I actually mean what I say?
Mhm.
Without involving anger. How do I teach this child that I
Right.
actually mean what I say?
Right.
Just hope to God that they pick it up.
Huh?
I'm just saying, you just hope that they pick it up and you learn before they get too old, because
Mhm.
they start traveling around the neighborhood and getting involved in things. So you want to hope, I've been teaching you this, and I just hope that because have you ever heard parents say, what they say? How they say it?
I brought you in this world and I'll take you out.
No, not no, not that one.
Okay.
Not that one. We'll get to that one.
Harsh.
That's our generation.
We'll get to that one.
Huh?
We'll get to that one. I'm just saying, some parents say that, you know what? I did not teach them that. I don't know why they made that decision.
Yeah.
We did not teach them that way.
Right. I taught you better.
Yeah.
Taught you better than that, right?
Right.
And a lot of that now comes to the other part of the definition: protect the child. And that means it's really important to filter. You might want to look at their company that they're keeping.
Mhm.
You might want to look at what they're looking at on TV, looking at on internet. Because suggestions, children are very open to suggestion. They're very impressionable.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful about their age bracket and what they're learning. It's important to have family meetings so that the child actually know who they are.
Mhm.
They're a part of a family.
Mhm.
This is our
Their
family.
identity.
They start to form a family identity and an identity within that family. This is our values.
Mhm.
We are a Burton family. These are our values, and have those values based off of something.
Mhm.
And have meetings, family gatherings and meetings, and talk about why those are our values, and then begin to develop rules in our families based off of our values.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that children, for example, if you are 6 or 7, you may not want them to stay up till 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock watching some of these comedies that are vulgar and depicting people as and as disrespectful, because they can learn from that, you know, or women as disrespecting women, or men disrespecting each other, or fighting each other over just nonsense. There needs to be a rule in our family about fighting. There actually needs to be a rule in our family about fighting. Because the child is going to go to school, and they're going to go to school and experience that kind of thing. Somebody's going to be a bully. Somebody's going to do this. So what do I do in that situation? Well, if dad is in the home or mom's in the home, if they don't hear your voice more than those other voices, they don't know what to do. So they the default factor is to go to what their friends are saying. It's one of the reasons parents, as the child grows, have to make sure that your influence level grows. That's the problem with parenting as a dictator. A dictator has no influence. All the dictator has is fear. And as the child grows, the child loses the fear of you.
Because they're getting bigger.
Yeah, yeah,
and stronger.
Yeah, and once they lose fear of you, you have nothing left. You have no influence. So it's really a important divide. We have a video that shows this about at 0, you have complete physical control over that child, but no influence. Stop crying. I said stop crying. You have no influence. Okay. But as the child grows, you begin to lose physical control. The idea is to develop influence. Somewhere between, I think, what is it, 8 to 12, they cross. The child starts to get more physically able to help to control themselves. You start to see, they start to resist you because they're coming into their own. They're becoming themselves. They don't, you know, they start to defy in certain ways. It may be minor in the beginning, but they're defying you. They're going against your rules. They're saying, no,
testing you.
Yeah, I'm going to be myself. Okay. The problem with them being themselves, they still need your wisdom. If you have no influence, they can't get it.
Right.
Because as they become themselves and have control, and you lose control, they lose fear. And once they have no fear of you, you have no influence. You have no ability to give them your wisdom.
And that's why it's so important in the beginning of the relationship to establish trust.
Yeah.
You know, mom's not going to say anything or do anything that will cause you pain later on. And that dad is going to give you wisdom because that's what you're going to need later on in life. And sometimes parents do it because they use the belt as a way to get a child's attention, you know, like a whip, you know, to get the child's attention. And after a while, the child's going to catch that belt and wrap it around their wrist and say, now what? You know, because boys will get taller than their dads and girls will get bigger and stronger because as they're growing and getting stronger, we're getting weaker. You know, our strength is waning as their strength is increasing. So the relationship is what is of utmost importance, that we have the type of relationship so that when that child gets to an age of needing to make good, sound decisions, they'll call you. Dad, what do you think? Dad, I met someone. I want to bring her around, you know, or mom, I met this guy and I want to bring him. Dad needs to check him out because I've heard that men can look at another man's eyes and tell him where he is.
And a daughter needs to be able to have the relationship with her father where she'll bring this guy to
right and not be afraid. To do that. You know, my father's a dictator and he's a harsh man and he wouldn't like any boy that I bring. Well, that's the father wanting to protect his daughter.
Yeah.
You know.
Any of those daughters tell their dad to behave. Dad, don't say that. I heard some of the daughters, you know, Dad, don't. You know,
Please don't embarrass me.
dad, you know, hey, so come sit down, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
what's your middle name?
At the same time, Joe, the dad has to have the admiration of the daughter where she'll listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and that comes over a period of time. That's
Mhm.
relationship. Admiration, admiring her dad is a relationship thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a title or a position. It's a relationship.
And I've talked to
Mhm.
many women who said, my dad told me not to marry this guy, and they did it.
Yeah.
Many women have lost their lives because they didn't have a dad to intervene and look at that man and look in his eyes and ask these questions that the young lady may not think are necessary to ask.
Mhm.
Because men can read another man,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I agree with that.
and a woman can be so infatuated, or she's caught up with her heart and all of that, and she might miss those signals. And you know, how many times have we heard women being murdered, thrown into, you know, a ditch or whatever? What happened? They met somebody online, and that's a whole nother.
Another gamut. Yeah.
Yeah. So parenting is extremely important.
Like you say, Joe, you don't get it in school. There's no class to teach it in school. It should
And it
be in
should-
high school or
It should
junior
be.
high.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Because kids are getting pregnant in junior high these days.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but yeah, the role of a parent is critical in the life of their children.
Yeah. So you know, we'll go through some of this.
Earlier about blended families, because you know, I mean, we all have, you know that God, you know, has His plan and has His way and has His vision on what things should look like, right?
Mhm.
So, because I like word pictures, so I'm gonna give you a word picture right now.
Okay.
So you got a building, right? So in God's plan, right, and all the way He does things, all the buildings are nice and straight, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice and symmetrical. Now here come us. So we build a building, right, and it's like this. Now instead of tearing the building down to make it like this, what we decide to do is go, you know what? Put another piece like this, and then you got something connected right there. Put your hand up. Then you got something connected right here. Then we're like, okay, you know what? It's gonna fall over that way. So what you do is you put this little stilt here to keep it from falling over. And then we can put something like this. So our buildings are all jacked up. And then, you know, and then we want to call it architecture. That's the word we put on it. That's architecture right there. That's, you know, that's 18th century.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what that is was a mess.
That's what it is, Joe. That's what it is.
Oh
That's what it
boy.
is. But we won't. The problem we having is we don't recognize the mess. We still want to acknowledge that it's a mess.
Mhm.
Right. It's architecture.
Yeah. And when it falls or fails, we're looking for someone to blame.
Yeah.
Oh, the lumber was not a good quality, you know, or you know, termites came in.
The termites did it.
Yeah, it's the termites' fault.
It's an act of God.
Oh, God.
It is that we laugh at it, but that's where people go, right? That's where they go. It's an act of God.
Mhm.
If God was God, he wouldn't have let this happen. Actually, we just made bad choice.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yep. So we got a lot of twisted buildings.
And twisted families.
Yeah. Dysfunctional for real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional for real.
Band-aid after band-aid, duct tape after duct tape, patches, all kinds of stuff.
Gorilla glue.
Gorilla glue, and then we just paint over it, and it looks real nice. But if you take that stuff off, you got, oh, what the hell? You got that's what's underneath there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's right.
And that's where we are as a society. So what we have to do is follow a manual. and it's called the Bible. And when we look at most of these curriculums, they're based off of scripture.
Walk through Proverbs.
Yeah,
Ecclesiastes,
yeah.
Songs of Solomon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They don't want to say that, and they would, people would argue us down. But when you really, really boil it down, this is what it is. Because when, if God is the creator of all living things, I think he knows what's best for us. And we've changed what is his idea and made it our own. Nobody tells me what to do, but and then we don't want to live with the consequences of our choices.
And that was a good point too, because a lot of people you have a lot of successful people out there and they make really good decisions and choices and they don't give no credit to, God or scripture. But those, like you said, those foundations are biblical, even though they don't acknowledge it. Yeah. And we say, hey, that person is really smart. No, you're just following biblical principles. You just following principles. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Because the principles are always there, right?
Right.
So you don't have to be a Christian to benefit from the principle.
No.
You know what I mean?
Just have to know what the truth is, because every time I read the book of Proverbs, I'm like, why can't we just do this? Yeah. It would be so much easier if we just follow the law of what God has in scripture. And even Solomon, as wise as he was, he blew it. He blew it big time. But he also had this part of his heart that he just wrote this stuff, and it's like, wow, we could all benefit from this.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so in summing it up, protect means to watch over, to provide a shelter, a covering that looks like watching, being careful with who their friends are, being careful with what they watch on TV, careful with a lot of things. It also looks like having family meetings, because you got to build your influence, because you cannot teach without influence. The type of teaching a parent does is a mentoring type of teaching, and you can't mentor without your child coming close.
Right.
Okay, so we got to be able to learn how to teach, and then teach them how to thrive, how to survive, the ability to don't quit. Don't just give up because life is tough, because life's gonna throw you some rough curves, and then thrive. In other words, the skill and the ability and the self-worth to make good choices and discipline yourself to do the right things so that you can come out not just surviving, but successful in life, in the society. And I take all that and apply it to the type of world they're gonna live in, democratic society. How do I get along with these people? I got to learn how to cooperate. I got to have good self-esteem. I got to compete with them for jobs. So I got to have good self-esteem. That kind of that as we look at that. But the beginning of that is the two parents actually have to have a good relationship. The statistics show that father's involvement with the child is directly affected by the relationship with the child's mother. So if we can't get along,
it's going to make the job more difficult.
It's going to be a problem. So we'll leave it there and pick it up the next time.
Yep.
Maybe get in a little bit closer to some of those things. But I thought this was fun. I enjoyed it.
We covered all that. So well, it was a blast. I've been, I really enjoyed myself, and I think I'm done. I don't think I have anything else. You?
No, I'm good. I'm glad that you kind of clarified everything.
Okay. All righty.
Okay. Well, so thank you again. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, spending time with us. We went a little bit longer, but that's because we were having fun today, I thought.
Oh yeah.
So
Super.
So if you're watching, if you have any questions that you want to share with us, ask us, just leave them in the comments below, or you can, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Thank you for spending time with us.
All right.
Until next time, right? We will see you.
Again.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, bad ending today.
Oh, boy.